Hey, everybody, welcome to the At Home Sunday meeting. So glad you're here. Please sign in at circleofhope.net/online meeting, even if you're watching this at some other time than 5 p.m. on Sunday. It is a joy that you're here, and we want to know that you're here because you're a joy. And that's kind of our whole thing for right now. We're doing the joy of being who we are as individuals, who we are as the body of Christ, who we are specifically as Circle of Hope. It's going to be a great time. A little under an hour of music and worship and listening and learning and talking back too. So if you want to get in the YouTube live chat and be interacting with people while this is happening, that's a great way to connect even in this disconnected time. Thanks for being here with us. Hey, Joys, my Joys here on the screen with me. Will you introduce yourself?
I'm Rachel in South Philly.
Hey everybody, I'm Julie in Germantown.
I'm Johnny from Fishtown, Pennsylvania.
Yep, and that joke is still great. Fishtown is actually a neighborhood in Philadelphia, but it's a whole republic in Johnny Rashid's mind. He's our pastor at that congregation, and they were also talking. Julie and Rachel were talking about how they're pastors at those specific locations that we have. I'm over in South Jersey. My name is Ben White. I'm going to introduce myself again in this video I want to show y'all. It's about a peculiar joy, something that I thought was maybe like a couple other people had this experience, but not that many. So we're celebrating our joys and our peculiar, kind of experience of the world. And so that's why we're watching this video. Check it out, y'all. Hey, y'all, I'm Ben White. I just love that feeling. Sitting in the sun on a spring day. Probably has to be spring for this to work, because it's the black jeans that make all the difference. It's the sitting there long enough, still enough, that I've got to switch the way my legs are crossed because the heat of the sun is baking down through the black denim and burning the skin underneath. It's too hot. It's too hot. Love that feeling. Black denim in the sun in spring. Burnt knees. It's a peculiar joy. I don't know if anyone has enjoyed that like me. Probably, I hope so. But it feels peculiar to me. We're celebrating that joy. Joy of being who you are, who we are together. Glad you're here. All right.
Yes. That was great, Ben.
When you say it's too hot and you're just loving it, that's some California boy energy. I love that.
Yeah, maybe it's a California boy thing, that kind of connection to the sun.
I love it too, though, and I never lived in California, and I love it too. I know that feeling.
You know the black jean feeling, Julie?
Yes.
I feel so seen. Oh, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Yes.
Well, and Ben, I see the joy on your face, like even just feeling the sun on your face like that. I can relate to that joy, and it's just like all over your face. I love it.
I'm glad you do. Thank you so much. We want to elicit these joys because joy is a discipline. Despair is so strong. Despair, I feel like it needs a definition. We say it all the time, but it's that feeling of meaninglessness, that God isn't present, or that God isn't how we thought God was. This despair needs a joy in its face, and that's what we're doing here tonight. Despair is that sense that there's no goodness to be found, or worse, that no one is ever going to find me, that they're not going to get me or get to me, that I'm just completely enclosed in. And we need to speak back to that despair, because you can be reached. The despair is not going to win. The despair that says that there's nothing beyond me and my experience, that there's nothing out there that could connect with me. Despair wants us to tell us that there's nothing more but joy. Joy is that something more, that connection that you make. That that little appreciation is where it starts, and it can become a real discipline. It can become a whole resistance movement against despair. Joy in the face of despair. That's what we're doing tonight. And I'm glad you're here to do it because we want to reach you and we want you to be able to reach others. And we want to speak back that there is more than meets the eye, that there is something more that that we can't touch, but we know is there. Joy suggests that there is that's something, and we're looking for it. I think I found it here in this next video too. We're making connections. Terry is getting interviewed by Corinne, and they're talking about their cell, which is our little groups of 10 or so people that gather to, among other things, discover joy. Let's see what their interview's like here.
Hello. So Terry, I'm going to introduce both of us. I'm Corinne, and I lead a cell that you are in. And this is Terry Coco. She is part of our cell. So we just wanted to share a little bit today about how you got connected to our cell during the pandemic, Terry. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Like how did you get connected to us?
Well, our situation, Corinne, is a bit unique in that I hadn't been actively looking for anything, but I knew you, and there was something I think you heard in me that caused you to invite me. And it was the invitation that brought me to the cell. And it's been more than a year now, I think, that
I think so. Yeah.
participating. Yeah.
So what was it about our cell meeting, would you say, that like after you tried it out, you decided, I'm going to stick with this. I think I'm going to keep coming back.
That's a really good question. I think there are a lot of answers. Number one, it was the people and the stories that I heard from each of the people, the different journeys that people were on, the different stages in their spiritual life, so that I didn't feel so much like an outsider. I felt like I was an explorer with all of them, trying to find my way to understand. And when you try to, I thought I was living a spiritual life by myself, but you find out that you're living more in a cocoon. And when you're with other people and hearing their stories, you realize how much richer your life is because of them. And that kept me coming back. It was the stories, it was your leadership, it was the gentleness with which any questions I had were handled. So that kept me coming back. And I'm finding that when I have to be absent, I really miss it.
Mm-hmm. We really miss you when you're absent too. Thanks for sharing. That's great. So my next question is kind of a big open one, but you can answer it however you feel moved to answer it. And the question is, Terry, what brings you joy?
Another good question. So many things bring me joy. So many things that are natural in creation, that I would say it's God-given things to us to enjoy. And yet there are so many things made by man that give me joy. A beautiful painting, a wonderful aria, a great book. Mm-hmm. So many, and a good meal, and people. All of those things bring me joy.
That's wonderful. Even just listening to your answers, Terry, I'm reminded of how you've shared how you've found God in some of those places. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like you go through life and you experience these profound moments, and you're grateful for them, and you know that there is a spiritual connection, But with the cell, with the group, I'm learning that it's a little bit more than that. There's something divine going on.
That's wonderful. Well, Terry, you are a gift, and I just want to thank you even for your openness and sharing tonight. And always in our cell, you bring so much to us. I love how thoughtful you are and how deeply you listen to people and how quick you are to ask a good question or offer encouragement. And you see beauty in us and you help us see it in ourselves. So we love you and we love you. Thanks for doing this with me.
I love all of you, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of the group. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience, really, and I'm continuing with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corinne.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
That was so sweet. Those people.
Terry, she's great. I look forward to meeting her in person.
You've never met her in person?
Nope.
See, that's the weird strangeness of the life that we live right now. But man, it just gives me so much hope that the Holy Spirit's moving in all kinds of ways. So good. So let's move into some worship now. We're gonna get on in a lot of places, different places to worship with myself and with Jess and with Tristan. And I hope that you can move with these songs and sing along and even move your body. You'll have to make a decision to do it now. So I hope you can. All right, here we go.
Okay, we are going to be singing the song Come Thou Fount. And I love this song, and I keep getting this mixed up with another song I love, Come Thou Long Expected Jesus. And I kept getting the melody wrong whenever I was trying to practice to sing this with Tristan. We have the melody right now. We have all the vowels figured out, and we're going to sing it with you now. Please enjoy.
Teach me Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Pray that with me. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Keep going. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Right now, Lord. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Because every time I hear you, your light fills me. Every time you speak, your light fills me. Every time I hear you, your light fills me. Every time you speak, your light fills me. Back to the top. Talk to me, I want to know you're near. Speak to me, I want to hear your voice. Talk to me, I want to hear your voice. Speak to me, I want to know you're near. Every time I hear you, your light fills me. Every time you speak, your light fills me. Every time I hear you, your light fills me. Every time you speak, your light fills me. You're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, you're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, you're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, you're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, every time I hear you, your light fills me. Every time you speak, your light fills me. 'Cause you're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, you're the way, you're the truth, you're the light. Jesus, talk talk to me. I want to hear your voice. Speak to me. I want to know you're near.
Hey guys, we're here. We're down the street from the Cooper River. You can't see it, but I promise you it's there. We're going to come together. We're going to lay our burdens down by the riverside.
Dance party!
Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikhaya lami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
I love that song and those dancers especially. I can't stop smiling along with them. The lyrics of the song are so full of longing. They are, Jerusalem, my home, rescue me, don't leave me here. My place is not here, my kingdom is not here. Save me, save me. And they're getting us to do something with that longing through the dancing. It's a beautiful cry of hope and an expression of hope in and beyond our circumstances right now. Howard Thurman writes, "It is this beyond dimension that saves the individual life from being swallowed by the tyranny of the present needs, present hungers, and present threats. It puts space within the experience and helps us live the quality of the beyond," he says, "even in the intensity of the present moment." The quality of the beyond, he describes, is the place where life, not death, has been accepted and yielded to, where the private will becomes infused with the great will, where we realize that we are beloved children of God. This is the knowledge that the Son has of the Father and that the Father has of the Son. And so the beyond, according to Howard Thurman, is to know ourselves in God, in this relationship of love and trust that we can abide in forever. Dancing is some of the doing that I think can bring us back into that truth, that awareness. And so thank you, Mabel and friends, for leading us. It's also spring cleanup day in South Philly. And so I'm here in the park, and that's part of what we're doing out here today. One of our proverbs and deeply held convictions within Circle of Hope is that we are called to be doers of the word. And so we don't just want to think about things or imagine them or even just hope for them in our heads. We're called to take action based on that hope. So dancing and cleaning up the park are actions that help us to change things, even if we're a big part of the change, the ones being changed. Action helps us to experience our convictions and hope in a way that changes the brain and the body and the lens in which we see the world, even as it changes the world. Doing something with what we're given makes a difference. The Apostle James writes about how important doing is. He writes, "Humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and then goes away after looking at himself and immediately forgets what he looks like. But anyone who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do." I don't know about you, but I think this past year in pandemic isolation has made it more challenging to be doers of the word than it usually is, at least in many of the ways that we might have been used to doing things before. And because of that, it might have been easier to forget what we've heard from God, God's promises for us about who we are, because of not experiencing that confirmations through our actions with each other. You know, it's been easier to forget what we look like, I think, because normally we have a mirror, we can act as mirrors to one another of this belovedness. So what a difficult challenge to hang on to ourselves and not be swallowed by anxiety or depression or ideas about ourselves that aren't true in the very real limitations of this year-long quarantine that were necessary to slow the spread of the virus and may even be necessary for a while into the future. There were many moments over the past year where I struggled to feel like myself because of not being able to do the things that I enjoy most, like helping us to gather together. Jesus was able to show me in that it's about his doing more than my doing that makes the world go round. It's God's doing that makes the flowers grow and the church grow. It's God's doing that holds all things together and even does the impossible, like rising from the dead and showing us new ways of thinking and being and connecting. Quarantine was an invitation to return to the simple truth of my conversion, that I am beloved. I even got it tattooed on my arm years ago, rooted and grounded in God's love, as Becca's been leading us to pray with the kids throughout Lent. That nothing can uproot us from God's love, not even a pandemic. We're connected to God in love. We even wear the scars of our circumstances like Jesus. Certainly the difficulties of the past year have affected us. But I wonder how these wounds will be tended and even healed as we care for these risen bodies. I wonder if Jesus kept his scars to show us that suffering is real, but it doesn't have the last word. Coming back to my belovedness in the pandemic was kind of like Jesus saying Mary's name in the garden after he rose. Mary didn't recognize Jesus in his risen form, just like we might not recognize what we're longing for all the time and how it's here, at least in part right now. It wasn't until Jesus said Mary's name that she knew who he was, that he was here and alive. We might need to hear God call us by our names again in order to remember who we are and have hope for moving forward. And this is something that we can do for each other. We can recognize one another and call out each other's names. You know, Jesus acknowledged Mary in her grief, and that made a big difference. He saw her. When we acknowledge each other in our meetings and notice what's going on with one another, it's kind of like God reaching out and saying our names. That recognition and understanding, I think, is a big part of the doing that we can do in this time. One of my friends came to our covenant meeting this week who has felt disconnected from the church all throughout the pandemic. She wondered if she even had enough faith to call herself a Christian anymore, or if she even wanted to, with all the injustice in the world and the confusion around Christian faith. But when we took a walk later in the week, she told me that just being in that Zoom room with us in the meeting and talking about Jesus and covenant after such a long time stirred something in her heart, this longing for community that she'd been missing. And she was even moved to tears just by experiencing it among us for that hour and a half in the meeting. I think that's all connected to the wisdom of doing, of simply showing up and being with each other in the ways we can, instead of just thinking about all our very good reasons not to show up. Something happens in our experience of being together that is the doing that James is talking about. The word, the logos that is planted in us and destined to bear fruit. I took another walk this week with a friend who's struggling to find any evidence of Easter right now. You can tell that I take a lot of walks in pastoring these days, so if you ever want to take a walk around your neighborhood, let me know. At any rate, this friend's car had just gotten broken into again, and she didn't really participate in Lent or Holy Week too much because it just felt too depressing on top of her difficult circumstances right now. But as we walked and talked, we realized that she was indeed having a Holy Week with Jesus, that he was with her in her suffering, and that she was with him and had been all along. And so we concluded that Easter must be coming too. One last story from our community. I was feeling discouraged this week about how long it's been taking to get all of our building projects done around 2212. And our trusty building manager got some friends together to help on one of the projects. And I was able to meet one of these new friends on my way out of the office one day, and I thanked him for helping with the project. And he said, of course, this is my second home, because he's been meeting there with the AA group that's been meeting in our building all throughout the pandemic. And these meetings have grown and been a crucial, life-giving presence in the community in a time where we've seen so much death from despair and addiction. So I want you to know, friends, that the word is planted in you and it is bearing fruit, even in a pandemic. Evidence of resurrection is all around. Jesus is calling your name to keep doing stuff with him, with us. Even if the doing seems minimal to you, it's not. You know, the doing that James is talking about in that verse, it's about repetition. He's talking about taking a long look into that perfect law of liberty. So it's about coming back again and again. It's about showing up in all these little ways, like showing up to a meeting, like recognizing what God is doing in the life of a friend in your cell meeting and calling it out. These might be some of the most powerful things that we can do for each other in this time. To notice one another right now and the gifts that we bring toward revealing and building God's kingdom together. God bless you in your doing this week.
Hey, thanks, Rachel, for that talk and that big tree behind you, too. We liked that a lot. That got some attention in the chat. And speaking of the chat, shall we do some talk back? What do y'all think?
Let's do it. I got the chat right here in my hand.
So people, right after Terry and Corinne's talk, a lot of people were sharing how they've experienced joy. So let's just name the ways that people are talking about how they're experiencing joy in a season where it can be difficult to find. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
I saw one person just say that being in cell with Terry and Corinne brings them joy. I think that totally speaks to Rachel's whole point in her talk, that like the doing of following Jesus together is where God meets us, and resurrection life happens and surprises us over and over again.
Yeah, that's great. Anything else you want to read out?
I like a whole paragraph here. Let's see what he says. I didn't even read it yet. A peculiar joy I experienced today was how the overcast grayness of today helped contrast the colors of the canary couple foraging for nest twigs in the alley behind the house.
What color is the canary?
Yellow. It was probably a finch. But if he had canaries, that would be really cool.
Chris has a great eye. I mean, I've been enjoying the pictures that he takes of cherry blossom trees and so many things in nature.
I like the way he wrote that sentence. That was a good sentence.
Bethany likes just being outside in her yard. She was watching the broadcast from outside. Hey, by the way, in the chat right now, just tell us if you're outside, if this is where you enjoy the Sunday meeting. That would be interesting to know.
Isn't it raining right now?
No, it's beautiful out, at least where I am. We did do conspicuously outside stuff, and you can look for more of that because we're letting creation sing along with us.
That's right.
As we worship. And people wanted more dance party too, and they will get more dance party, and maybe even a longer one if you want to dance longer.
No, go ahead, Julie.
I just was gonna say I liked singing along with the creek though too, Ben. That was good.
That was the instrument I was playing. I don't play an instrument.
All creation sings. Someone else said in the chat that meeting neighbors and getting to know them at the block cleanup yesterday brought them joy. That's good stuff.
People said that getting the vaccine helped them feel free and unencumbered, and I think that is for many people. a source of joy, and I'm super grateful for it too.
April
Absolutely.
19th, the vaccine is available for everyone. There's no more at least in New Jersey.
Everyone above 16, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to really help us out, y'all, and let us to do more things in person. Anything else you want to say? Rachel brought up this point. I want to get back. See, this was all before Rachel's talk, so let's get to what Rachel was saying. She's quoting James 1, and you had this. Ben mentioned this, so I just want to throw it out there. You said Jesus chose to keep his scars to remind to reconnect with us in suffering, and Ben said, I never thought of Jesus choosing to keep his scars. Is the choosing part the thing that you never thought about, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly to think that something that happened Jesus didn't choose. He is the source of all things. But I kind of thought that was what happened. I didn't think about the process. And Jesus wanting to demonstrate that to us, and thus having a resurrected body with scars in it, was a decision he made. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that insight, Rachel. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Rachel,
go ahead, Julie.
It's meaningful to me too. Go ahead, Joel.
Sorry, that is such a good point. I don't want to distract from it, but I just looked down at the screen and saw the sun shining from behind you, and it looks like you're having a resurrection moment right there.
Thank you for putting that in a good light, because I'm feeling terrible that I didn't think about how this was going to be shining in here at this hour.
No, the sun has been a theme through this whole meeting. We started on the deck with Ben, feeling the sun soaking into our skin. So
excellent.
True.
Fantastic.
But yeah,
go ahead, Rachel.
Tony.
No, please.
I didn't notice until after I had written the talk that what James is really talking about, taking a long look, and so that repetition point just kept sticking in my heart, even though I didn't say too much about it. But I think the returning, coming back again, the more ways we can kind of practice this joy, practice showing up for each other, even if it feels like super minimal to us, like we're not doing anything, we're not accomplishing anything, we don't see any results. I think this is part of it's all part of the process.
I think even if it feels silly or forced too, like if you actually got up and did the dancing next week, something might happen. I got to get this in here. We got to celebrate Tim McIntosh, one of our dear ones.
Oh, yes.
Very sick. And his wife, Debbie, writes, we were prepared, joy bursting forth in laughter at hearing a confounded doctor tell me my husband had come out of a near-death cancer treatment, saying, I'm not sure how. And we were preparing for whatever God's will was, but we turned out being surprised by joy. Praise God.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so incredible.
So glad Tim is still with us.
Kathleen says, hearing my extroverted child make post-pandemic plans brings me joy. She gets so happy, and the worry of this time lifts from her countenance. Any of us who care for little ones can relate in some way to that our kids have felt the burden of this time in unique ways, and it is such a joy to see them come alive and become more sort of return more to themselves in some way.
Yes,
celebrating that.
I just heard that my son's high school graduation is probably going to be in a park instead of online like we were expecting all year, so I'm happy about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to say? They're talking more about how this is an intriguing subject, but Danny's saying, I don't know that our bodies are healed in that way after this life, and Jordan's saying that's intriguing. I also wonder, in the age to come, what will happen to our scars and in the way that we've been in the world and what that will mean. I'm looking forward to a new humanity where we have our diversity, but it doesn't have the same meaning assigned to it, if that makes sense. Like our scars aren't a bad thing, if that, that type of thing. That's to me, I think that's the world that we're trying to bring about here. This is the doing that we're talking about.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Johnny. And I think Jesus was demonstrating that in just showing the scars. Like he wasn't hiding them; he was revealing them.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, team, for doing this. For those of you watching from home, stick around with us for a little bit longer. We're going to tell you some really important things we want you to know, and then we're going to pray at the end. So don't log off yet. To make this meeting work further, here's 4 things that you can do. This is 4 things you can do. You can like the video. Only 19 likes so far, so we want to get that number up. And then you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that right under where it says like. And if you're on Facebook, like our Facebook page. And we want 1,000 people to subscribe to our channel, because then that gives us new ways to access YouTube and to share our stuff. Someone said in the chat earlier, if we get to 1,000 likes, one of the pastors will shave their head. Now, I don't count, obviously, because my head's already shaved, but others, my colleagues, may shave their heads if we get to 1,000 subscriptions here on YouTube. Also, share the video when you can. If you liked what you experienced, share it on your social media, share it directly with people that you think would be blessed by it. And then finally, share money in our common fund with us. Go to circleofhope.net/sharing to do that. We don't have, even when we meet in person, just so you know, even when we meet in person, we don't pass a plate around. It's a box that you have to use your own will to go and put a check in or money in, or do the bill pay online, or whatever you do. This is an intimate action that isn't necessarily for publicity. And so what we're doing is something serious. We take you seriously too. And so by contributing to our common fund, you help our whole church work, but you also help yourself in how you relate to your money and how you allow God to be Lord of that. This isn't something that we conspicuously do. It's rather something that we do privately, because we know we know God sees us, and we know that we're contributing to a good cause, not for our own notoriety, but for the greater good of the church and of the world. So 4 things you can do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it on social media, and share in our common fund. Here's Julie with some more.
Thanks, Johnny. Our cells that Terry and Corinne were talking about at the very beginning are an opportunity to relate face to face and to be a mirror for one another of the goodness of God at work in our lives. And they're all open to you. So I hope you'll connect to a cell this week. And you can find all the details for that at circleofhope.net/cells. And we have these gifts for growing that we offer. Gifted people in our body offer the gifts they have to help disciple and feed your spiritual life, your development. So you might be looking for or in need of different things at different times. And we have ongoing offerings that you can find on our website. You can look at upcoming events there. This week, it's an offering about getting to know the Bible. What is the Bible? What do I do with it? How do I relate to it? And then there's one for marriages next Friday night. So you can get all the details there on the website, but I want you to know they are happening even online. And I hope you'll find what you need and sign up for it. There's also a chance to just meet after this meeting face to face to chat a little bit. It's very informal. The hosts will put that link in the chat right now for you, and you can click over and just hang out for a half an hour. We hope to see you. Ben, why don't you send us off?
It's been really a joy to be here together during this time. And I hope that you know how much of a joy you are. And you have appreciated maybe some of the joys that you forgot when you looked in the mirror and you came back here and looked into the mirror, and Jesus was looking into the mirror with you, and you got to see not just with your own eyes but with his some too. That would be really great. That would be so great through the music or through the teaching or the storytelling, that something helped you to see yourself and to see the world with something that has substance enough to stand up against the despair that kind of keeps you isolated and thinking, there's nothing more, because there's more, friends. There's more. Rachel Haddison James, let me say this one. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. We're getting strong. We've got joy against the difficulties. Go with that and come back next week. We'll be here, circleofhope.net/online meeting. Hang out with me afterwards too. Love you.